Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny, and in this video I will be showing you an update on all of my seedlings that have been growing up a storm in here. And I want to show you what I am growing for tomato varieties this year, as well as some other culinary seeds that I want to start, some herbs, and I want to get started sowing all of these seeds. I'm a bit late compared to other years where I have started sowing my tomatoes in early March, but I find that I am kind of crunched for space, and the seedlings, I have to repot them so much, so I wanted to start them a little later so that way I don't have to repot as much. And yeah, so let me start with what I have in here that is about to go outside, because they need to go, honey. They are getting way too big. It is time to put them out. All right now, so when it comes to peppers, peppers are one of the vegetables that I started very early, because I feel like even though I am in a zone 6B and usually my frost dates are between like November, like early November, I feel like I start to get peppers way down in the season, almost close to my frost. So I don't really get a great harvest with peppers because I start them so late. So this year, the peppers were an exception of something that I started quite early. I started some of these peppers January 21st. Most of the peppers were started, and they have put on some size. Oh, and as well a couple of eggplants that I started as well, because it's the same thing with eggplants. I feel like I don't get such a huge harvest because I start so late. So I wanted to start them in January, get a head start, and I'm going to show you what has been going on. Here are my peppers, honey. Okay, I have a whole bunch of different peppers here. Let's see. I have some Cubanelle peppers, which I'm Dominican, and we use that a lot in our culinary. So I am growing a lot of that this year. Then I went over to like my Mexican side of things, and well, not my Mexican side of things because I'm not Mexican, but I love Mexican food. And so this year I really wanted to start some peppers that are familiar to Mexico, like poblano and like serrano. And I just learned that when you dry these chiles, they take on another name that you're familiar with. So it's not that it's a different type of chile. It means that when it's dried, it turns into another name, like chile seco or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me, but I wanted to grow some Mexican peppers in order to make some really nice Mexican dishes this summer. I want to make birria, I want to make chilaquiles, I want to make a whole bunch of stuff, honey. I'm talking out my butt. We'll see how far I take it. And then I move on. I have like different peppers from different regions, honey, okay? We're very diverse here when it comes to our veggies. So the next one is Thai chilies. I grow Thai chilies every year, and without fail, Thai chili peppers are usually the pepper that I get an abundance of. No matter what, they fruit early. There's a bunch of them, even though they're small. They are abundant. And so I was thinking about not growing them this year because I never do anything with them. But this year, me and my best friend will be making Thai chili crisp. And we'll be making some sauce with those Thai chilies. So I'm going to grow them for sure and make sure I have an abundance of those Thai chilies. Then I have Quadrato, which is like an Italian one. And what else do I have here? Baker Creek sent me a free seed, and it was the jigsaw. pepper, and they are a variegated pepper, more on the ornamental side, but you can still eat them. And I plan to put those in some of my containers. That'll be fun. And they have like, you know, variegated foliage, purple, whites, and you can start to see some of the purple. I'll show you guys in a second. And then I have my eggplants, which is, I have an Iraqi eggplant that's called Aswad. Aswad. Don't quote me on that. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry. But anyways. And then I have a Black Beauty, of course. I grow that every year. And what else do I have here? I have an Chinese early long eggplant. And then lastly, what else do I have here? I have a Sunbright pepper, which is just like a pepper, a regular pepper. But anyways, let me show you all. I just repotted them. They were in those little 1-inch, 2-inch containers. Sorry, there's like dust everywhere. They were in this 72 tray. And I recently moved them up to, I think this is like a 3-inch or something. But these are doing wonderful, really wonderful. And I'm very happy at how far they've come along. I think that now that I up-potted them, they will definitely start to really take on some size and really put in that growth. I'm not going to pinch them just yet. I'm going to wait till they get a little bit bigger in these containers. And then I'll start to pinch them so that they can branch out and produce more offshoots. But these are my peppers and my eggplants. All right. So next we'll go with the flowers. These are, woo, my Johnny Jumpman Violas. And they are doing wonderful, honey. You see that? You see that. They definitely have been putting on some growth. These are the trays that I recently bought. They're, I think, like a almost 4-inch container. And ever since I potted them up into these containers, they have put on so much size. And they've also been putting off a lot of branches. So I'm very excited about these. I also have started to get them used to outside. So every day I put them outside, and they actually spent the night outside when it was in like the 45-ish. I even have let them experience temperatures of like 37. So they are ready to be planted in the ground, honestly. I'm a little scared, and I still have to get a lot of the containers ready. So I plan to put them out sometime in the next week or so. And some of them are even starting to flower. So I'm going to make sure that I cut off the flowers so that they can put more growth. But yeah, these are doing amazing. I know that violas can withstand a lot of cold. And last year I started them late again, and they weren't branching as much as they are now. And they are definitely a lot bigger than the ones I had last year. My mistake was that last year I put them into the ground, and I didn't really like that because violas are a more dainty flower. I feel like maybe if there was like a whole bunch of them in one area, they would have looked like more, put on a bigger show, but it was too dainty, and I feel like these definitely need to be inside of a container or something. So I plan to dot these around in all the containers that I have in the gardens and on my balconies. And I plan to also share some of these with my aunt, like I've mentioned in a previous video. But yeah, look at them, honey. Look at them. They are doing wonderful. And they're a little wet because they were outside. I wanted to get them used to getting some rain on them, getting that nice water from outside. Rainwater is fabulous, and they're just thriving. They really are. These are my snapdragons. They don't look like much, and it's because I pinched them back, and they were huge. They were tall, and I decided to cut them back, pinch them, so that they can produce more branches. And let me show you all what I did. So when you pinch snapdragons, what you can do is what you pinched off, I like to plant them right back in the pot, and they will produce a whole other plant that does wonderfully. And as you can see, this is where I pinched, and it is already starting to create new branches. They're doing wonderful, and these have been getting acclimated to outside as well, and they're ready to get planted out. Honestly, it rained heavily today, and I left them out in the open, so it is drenched, and I can't wait to put them back outside so they can dry up, because I'm scared if I leave them in here, it will get root rot or something. So super heavy, but these are my snapdragons. And let's see what I have for snapdragons. I have the Madame Butterfly Cherry Bronze, which I'm very excited about because it's so beautiful. And then I have Madame Butterfly Pink. So, Marcel, go to sleep, please. Thank you. Don't mind my dog. He always wants to be in the camera. He always wants to be in the business. But anyways, those are my snapdragons. Yeah, so when I pinched a lot of these snapdragons, I was able to definitely get another round of plants. So I doubled the snapdragons that I originally grew. So that's always nice with snapdragons. And I'm going to dot those all around the garden as well. And they have to go out because they're part of the cool flower situation, that they can be outside in the garden and withstand slightly freezing frost. Okay, and last but not least, for the seedlings that have been potted up and are ready to go outside, are the stalk. So these stalk has put on so much growth since I repotted them, and as you can see, that one that's like standing out, that one looks like it is ready to go and ready to flower. I will be potting these in some containers as well as putting them directly into the garden. These were a mix, let's see. This says stock column blend. So they were a mix of colors, and although I don't 100% mind a lot of different colors, I really don't want to put them scattered all around the garden and mess up my little color palette mojo that I have going on. So I plan to put some of them in containers. I'll have them in some sections of my garden where I really have like a hodgepodge of a lot of things. But the stalk is doing amazing, and again, it's part of the cool flowers that actually favor and grow well when they get a little bit of that spring cold, because they can handle a little bit of light frost. And there are a couple of violas planted here as well. Just make sure you don't pinch your stalk, because if you pinch your stalk, you're not going to get the blooms. And with stalk, when it is in seedling form, when it just sprouts, you can actually see if it's going to be a double flower or a single flower, because the single flowers have like a fused first set of leaves, and the double have obviously two separate set of leaves that are not fused together. But I'm very excited about these stalk. It is my first time growing stalk. I've never grown stalk before. I've never really grown all these kind of snapdragons that are high quality. I usually like have grown snapdragon from the dollar store, but they don't give like the ones that I'm about to plant this year. So hopefully these have it going on. Look at that. Like, wow. And these have been also sitting outside for the past few days. and I have not brought them in because I'm getting ready to plant these bad boys out. But today it was just flooding with rain, and I really didn't want them to get overly soaked because the weather is looking like it's going to cool down in the next couple days. We are experiencing fall spring, and they say that next week we're about to get a light snow shower. So I'm kind of like concerned, but I'm also hopeful that the weather will not deceive me and I'm going to be able to plant these out, but we'll see. We will move on to what I plan to sow today for tomatoes for the growing season of 2025. I have a love and hate with tomato seedlings. They get too big and I'm always ready to put them outside, and the weather kind of messes with me and I have to repot them like 100 times. They get huge. I have no space for them between that and the dahlias, but tomatoes are essential in my home, essential in the garden. We eat so much tomatoes, and it's just like a blessing to have so many tomatoes in the summer. There's nothing better than a nice, juicy, honey tomato in the summer. So let's get started with what I plan to grow for tomatoes. If you don't know, there are different kinds of tomatoes. You have your interdeterminate tomatoes, which are tomatoes that continue to grow and get really, really big. They have a lot of vines. They get massive. So they're really not ideal to put in containers. You need a lot of space for them, and you can cut them back quite often and they will produce more and more vines, branches, etc., and a lot of fruit. But then you have your determinate tomatoes, which are tomatoes that are more bush-like and usually put out their fruit all in one time. And so I like to use my determinate tomatoes in containers and pots and things like that, depending on the variety. They have some dwarf determinate tomatoes and they have some that are a little bit bigger and bushier. But I like them both. I like to have a mix of them. And then of course you have your cherry tomatoes that are more obviously interdeterminate, that get huge and they keep vining and big, but they put on these little tiny fruits that are very sweet. And then you have like your paste tomatoes, which are a whole nother thing. But I don't think that I'm growing paste tomatoes this year because I really don't make my own sauce. I feel like I haven't got to that level yet where I'm into canning. Yeah. No. Maybe next year. Maybe I'll go into that journey with you guys next year. That's like on my list, like canning and beekeeping, things like that. I don't know. It's just too much for me to handle. I have a lot going on, and usually I'm the only one that deals with the garden, so it's a lot of work for me. Anyways, let's get to the tomato varieties of 2025. So, the first one is one that I have grown before. I'm going to go with my heirloom tomatoes that are just absolutely gorgeous. They have this like beautiful heirloom shape, honey, and they are to die for. So the first one is Abe Lincoln. This is a beautiful tomato. It is huge. I've grown it before, and it has an abundance of medium large red tomatoes. Renowned 1923 heirlooms tomato. It says it has meaty fruit, has incredible old-fashioned flavor, sliced or canner. So that's one that I will be growing again. I really enjoy this one. My family loves that one. A new one on my list is from M.I. Gardener, and this one is called the Giant Belgium Tomato. And so this one is, this Ohio heirloom is a massive and overflowing with rich flavor. Known for its impressive size and rich sweet flavor, these tomatoes can weigh up to 2 pounds, making them ideal for slicing and sandwiches. They have a deep pink to red color with a smooth, meaty texture and minimal seeds. So this is one that I look forward into growing this year. If you can hear in the back, I always say this. I have canaries that are breeding. It's a big story unraveling, but just a preview, they have some chicks in there. Fingers crossed. And the mom and the dad, they don't know how to behave. Let's just say that. They, for good reasons, but for bad reasons. Anyways, let's get back to the tomatoes. The next heirloom tomato that I'm growing is the Cherokee Purple. And this is a tomato that I have grown before. It is so big and juicy, and it has this purple hue to it, this dark red. It says it's a pre-1890 Cherokee Indian heirloom. Beautiful, deep, dusky purple pink color. Superb sweet flavor, very large fruit, a customer favorite, and it sure is one of my favorites. I grow it every year. Alright, next we'll go to the hybrid tomatoes. The hybrid tomatoes are something that I enjoy growing because usually they're very resistant. They have been bred to be resistant to a lot of diseases that tomatoes get, and I enjoy them. And so the first one on my list that I'm growing is the Beef Master Hybrid. This is obviously like a larger tomato. I like my beef steaks, so this is one that we use a lot of tomatoes here for salads and sandwiches, so I like the ones that I can definitely slice in. The next one is Cloudy Day Hybrid. And this one I have grown before. It was an abundance of tomatoes, and they were really one of those plants that did not get ugly, and that withstood the heat of the summer and the drought that we had last year. So this is one that I definitely want to grow again. The next one is Early Girl Hybrid. And this one says, true to her name, Early Girl Hybrid takes first place as the earliest slicing tomato. And it produces an abundance of 4 to 6 ounce fruit. This one I grew before and it was good. I only had one plant of these, but I gave one to my aunt. And she had tomatoes the whole season. She grew a bunch of them and she was so in love with them. So I plan to give her some of those. The next hybrid that I have is Burpee Super Steak Hybrid. Another beef steak. We love the beef steaks. They're huge. They do the job. Alright, let's get to my cherry tomatoes that I'm growing. I am growing this heirloom cherry large fruited tomato. And it's just a simple cherry tomato with big fruits. I like cherry tomatoes to put in salads. I like cherry tomatoes just for the look of them. So definitely one that I need to grow again. It was excellent. Then the next one is a new one for me from M.I. Gardener. And this one is called Sweetie. So I'm excited about this one. This one says, this bite-sized variety is as sweet as candy, making it perfect summer snack. You can count these tomatoes for high production. This variety will continuously produce until the first frost in the fall. We love that because we love a long-standing tomato. Alright, let's get to my determinate tomatoes. And the first one is called Bush Steak. This is Bush Steak Hybrid. And this one is meaty fruit matures early on 20 to 24 inch dwarf plants. So this one is one of the ones that I'm going to be putting in the middle of my metal raised garden beds that are smaller. And I like to put little tomato varieties in those containers because they're a lot smaller and I don't have them mixed up with the interdeterminate ones, and I can just harvest them all at one go and put something else in there. The next one that I am going to grow is the Beefy Purple Bush Tomato. And this one is from Botanical Interest, and I love the pictures. And this one says that Rich, deep flavor with smoky finish makes this tomato a BLT's best friend. A great choice for container gardening and raised beds. So another one that I plan to put in my, raised garden beds that are a lot smaller. So those are my tomatoes for this year that I plan to grow. And we will move on to the herbs. So for my herbs, I wanted to grow English thyme. I've never grown English thyme before. And this says that it is a perennial. When I looked it up, it says that it's a perennial in my zone from 5 to 9. I'm in 6B, 7A. So I really want to grow that this year. Alright, then I have regular thyme. This is not a perennial, I believe, in my zone. But these are a different kind of thyme. This is like from the Dollar Tree. It's like one that I've grown in different times. That I haven't been really successful with that kind of thyme. So I want to try again. But I'm going to grow 2 kinds of thyme. Then we'll move on to my basils. So the first one is holy basil, which is a Thai staple. So when I make my massaman curries and I do more of my Thai cooking, I will be obviously incorporating holy basil. It smells absolutely fabulous and one that is a staple that needs to be grown each year. Then I have a new one and it's called Siam Queen basil. And this basil, Siam Queen basil, is a vibrant Thai basil variety known for its unique spicy sweet flavor with an anise and licorice aroma. This herb features deep green leaves and a striking purple stems and flowers. So not only did I want to get it for its culinary purposes, but also for its ornamental. As you can see, it has a beautiful flower. And so I want to put this everywhere, honestly. And I feel like basil is one of those plants that the bugs really don't mess with because of the smell. And so I like to dot basil here and there and everywhere. It's also a good companion for tomatoes. So I will be interplanting them with my tomatoes. The next one is dark opal basil. And again, if we can have culinary benefits and we can have some ornamental value to it, we love that here in this garden. So I'm going to be growing these with my tomatoes as well. The next one is a compact basil that I got from Walmart for 50 cents. And I like this because it's compact. So I'm going to add them into my little containers that I have scattered everywhere with some of my nasturtiums and some of my verbena. Excuse me. So that will be nice to grow a compact basil that does not get that big. It says that it's 10 inches tall compared to some basils that are 24 inches like the Siam Queen. The next herb that I wanted to grow again this year is dill. This is the Long Island Mammoth, and I grew dill last year and I just love how dill looks. I think that it is so airy and wispy and the flowers look gorgeous. I had them growing dotted in my dahlia bed and it was such a cute little combo. And I'm curious to see if the dill will reseed itself because I did scatter seeds everywhere. Maybe it was a mistake because they say that dill gets very invasive and gets huge, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I definitely wanted to grow dill again this year, and I'm going to be putting them inside of my raised garden beds in the middle of them to give them that look. Because usually I used to plant things like taller things at the ends of the containers, And I'm talking about those like trough metal containers that you can get for like cows and like livestock. I use some of those as containers. I have my garlic planted in them and chives as well. So instead of putting them on the outer portion of those containers, I'm going to put them right in the center so that they could give that like pop and that shabam. So yeah, that's that. And then we'll go hop over to veggies again because I forgot to mention I want to be successful with okra. Okra is one of those plants where I start too late as well. I'm probably too late already. I'm probably just going to buy some plants as well. But I have two varieties of okra. And the first one is Louisiana Green Velvet. And the other one is Okra Go Big. And I do not like okra, honestly. Maybe that's why I'm not successful with it, because I don't give it a chance. But, sorry, the lights just switched. But okra is one of those things that my family loves to eat. It's like traditional. They like stew it and stuff like that. So I want to grow them for that purpose, to give to my family. I like to not only grow things that I like to eat, but also that my family likes to eat. But anyways, let's get to planting up and sowing these seeds, honey. So I have my materials ready. I have all of my labels. Don't forget your labels. And I like to put the name, obviously, and the date that I sowed them. So I have two sets of labels, one for my veggies and one for my herbs. Then I have my 72-inch tray here. I have my vermiculite that I like to sprinkle on top just for added moisture. And then I have my soil. I use potting mix. I don't know what other people be talking about. Yes, potting mix has like bigger chunks of wood and it has fertilizer. It's a little rich, but I start all my seedlings in potting soil. Contrary of what a lot of people say, like start with seed starting mix. I don't have time to be potting up things like 100 times. And I start them in potting soil. I make sure that I get rid of like all of the like big pieces of bark. And I amend it with mosquito bits. Another thing that some people might say like, oh, that's not organic and you're ingesting that. Well, you know what? I haven't died yet. And I'm going to continue doing it, sweetheart. It is what it is. But anyways, I add a little bit of mosquito bits. And I moisten up my soil beforehand. So that way it soaks up that water and is not water phobic when I put them into these. I have my gloves. And I have my seeds. So let's get to it, honey. Bye everyone. Thank you for joining me while I sow all of these seeds. Please like and subscribe to see more, and I'll update you on how all of the rest of the seedlings are doing in the future and how I'm getting them planted outside. Bye everyone.